Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Kujira no Kora wa Sajou ni Utau, or Children of the Whales episode 12, my review of the finale. But I'm gonna say season 1 finale because it seems pretty obvious a season 2 is coming. The series as a whole I think is like in association with Netflix. It has a deal with Netflix. So especially if this first season goes well, it's probably going to do pretty well in general. Even if it doesn't get a ton of mainstream attention, I still think it'll probably do well enough to warrant a season 2 at least. It just seems to have that sort of corporate backing behind it, where I could see it easily getting a season 2, plus the end kind of sets them up for a season 2. It's one of those series where it's almost like it was made and they sort of were like, okay, we don't need to really rush certain things because we're certain that we'll have the second season to continue on with it. At least that's what it felt like to me. It felt like it was always intended to just be an introduction, to just be the first part of something larger. So either way, talking about this this final episode first. Before I go in, whenever I do the review of a last episode of a season or a series, I always talk about that season or series as a whole and give it a score as a whole at the end after I talk about the episode. So just throwing that out there beforehand. But for this finale, we have Oni standing up to the twins who, yeah, they're entire. Like I said, to fall for their stupid little spiel, you would have to be incredibly, incredibly gullible. But Oni stands up to them, shuts the shit down really, smashes the flag and says, okay, this is done with. So we have this sort of, I think it's Suo that's going through this dilemma where he's like, you know, Felena protects them but steals life from the marked, or it isn't him. I think it's actually Neri who is giving some sort of speech. But just going through how Felena protects them, she keeps them afloat, but steals life from the mark to do so. Masuo is dying, he's starting to shut down, and he's hazy even when awake, and they say it's what happens to many marked at the end of their lives. And in his last little speech he says that he doesn't mind taking the sadness and pain with him, and they should live strong in the future for him. But everybody's crying, of course, and saying, no, we want the sadness and painful memories because they're what happened. We need to keep them with us. We cut away from that, going to the mainland, or whatever country that Lycos is from. So we have Orca dropping in on Atsali, the general. On the way he's met by assassins, but saved by Leodari, who has gone complete crazy jester mode. Brings up that the assassins seem to work for Atsali, but Leodari, we get more on why he's like this. He says that he feels empty inside and he needs to return to Felena. He left himself there. He needs to go and sort of torture them all to death. Pretty much, he's crazy. We finally get an explanation of what Sarks is and how this society works a little bit more. Apparently Sarks gives you your emotions and your heart back, but it's only given to and eaten by, and it's the flesh of a noose apparently. But it's only apparently given to the high-ranking aristocrats. So it almost seems pretty, I don't know, what's the word, hypocritical, I guess, for them to say, okay, we want to have emotions, but the soldiers don't get to have emotions, and Felena, their people don't get to have emotions. So I think there's probably a deeper story behind it and why the people of Felena were actually outcast. There's probably something deeper to that. But yeah, it seems pretty hypocritical, honestly. So Orca, though, wants to steal Anthropos, the first noose, and he's going to use Felena to do so. That's his evil plan, and it's to create a utopia, which is the most basic bitch evil plan there is. But yeah, it's like every anime villain. I'll create a utopia by doing this evil thing that hurts a lot of people, but it's okay because the people getting hurt are for a sacrifice for the greater good. Yeah, the same evil plan that every anime villain goes for. They have, back on the Mud Whale, there's a funeral for Masuo, and I like the interaction here. This episode really, I found all the scenes with Sean, Captain Eyepatch, really enthralling in a weird way. they all just seemed deep and mysterious. And I don't know, I guess I just like the way they're all presented. But we see that he has kind of lived as long as he has, being kind of old for a Mark, it would seem, by burying his emotions and just forgetting about it and moving on. Suo then reads the history of the mud whale. Neri/Emma, I guess it would technically be Emma, I guess, confronts Lycos about everything, but Lycos sort of, I don't know, I guess she stays strong in her principles, though she's in the state where she feels a bit guilty. It's not her fault or anything, but she feels sadness and sorrow for the people of Falena and what's befallen them, essentially. What continues to befall them. But Chakro kind of brings her out of that. He has his flashbacks with him and Sammy and all that. And he remembers why he was riding. He was riding so that everyone, they can all be remembered. And that, again, that's really great for a main character. We haven't really seen Chakro do very many main character-ish things, but that almost makes me like him more, because it makes him feel more unique. But yeah, I like this, that he's like, I need to write down so we don't forget about Masuo's story, all the happy and sad times we had together. Same with Sammy, same with Taisha and all the others he mentioned. Then Suo calls another assembly so that he can tell everybody about the true story behind Falena and all that. Oni has to shut down some more bullshit from the twins again. I just don't get how pretty much nobody goes along with it, which is good, because if the people went along with it, that'd be incredibly stupid. Then at the end, very feelsy scene, we get all the characters, we get them escaping the cage of Falena and moving on to their new lives. And this scene, again, for me with Sean, was so really, I don't know, that was the deepest part of it to me, is like him sitting in the little boat looking up at the sky as they're escaping the cage and all that. And it really feels like, I don't know, there's so much pain with that character and so much mystery that we don't know, that just this episode and the very little we had made me care so much about the character. Then near the end, Suo asks Oni to lead the ones who, he says the plan now is we're going to go out, we're going to make friends and build up our community of people even more, and I want you to be the leader when we do leave and build up a new community of friends. So yeah, I thought it was beautiful. I thought that it got me really excited for a second season. There was a lot of build up and just leaving us for a second season, not really doing a ton to wrap up the first season as a story on its own. It was, like I said, basically kind of like an introduction. And yeah, I think my favorite things were the world building and character work. Just this episode, for the show as a whole as well, but just talking about this episode, I thought there was really great character work and world building. And as a whole, I thought that I felt really emotional throughout the episode. I'd give it 9.5 cages out of 10, I guess. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed that. And just to briefly talk about the show as a whole, I thought the show was beautifully well made. The production quality was incredible. The insert songs that they used were really, really good. When they used them, I loved the opening. The ending's alright. Song is good, animation's kind of boring, bland, whatever, but I don't really mind it. But man, the opening was good. It was maybe my favorite opening of the season. I think I might have liked it more than Shoujo Shumatsu Ryoko's. The show had this tense and somber feeling to it, which is something I liked. It didn't try to shoehorn in a bunch of comedy. I do like comedy, but it didn't need it here, and it didn't go for it. It just was a more somber, intense show. The biggest thing were the characters. I feel like I loved basically every character a lot in their own way. The characters I was supposed to hate, I hated. The characters I was supposed to love, I loved. But I had a strong feeling and understanding of them, even if there's a mystery. Like, I totally think there's a bunch of mystery behind Sean and Orca and Leodari and all of them. But even then, I felt like I could empathize with them, even if I hated them and disagreed with them. You got the emotion from the character. So yeah, Leodari was a great character. Orca was. Both are villains. I disliked both. Not a big fan of Sean, but I think Sean was one of the more interesting characters to me. and I hope I'm getting that name right. I'm pretty sure that's what Captain Eyepatch's name was. Hakuji, I always like the characters who start off as assholes who you don't like, and then they turn it around, and you're like, oh man, I really liked how they turned out, or how they went out, how they sacrificed themselves, because that's usually how characters like that end up. Even characters that died early on, Sammy was, oh man, from the first episode, Sammy was destined to die. Like, there was no way on earth she was surviving past a few episodes. But I guess that adds in a little bit of predictability to the show, because there were certain things like that where you're like, oh, that is 100% happening. But yeah, I loved Suo. He was possibly my favorite. I think Oni may have been my favorite character, and usually I can't stand the sort of edgelord character. I don't want to compare him to Sasuke, because Sasuke is such a shittily written character, but the Sasuke-esque emo, just, the edgelord characters, I usually really dislike them, but I really enjoyed Oni. I think he was one of the better characters. I love the story between him and Nibi. It reminded me, for some reason it reminds me of the story in Maggie, but I would say Magi because that's how you pronounce it, I mean in English, but whatever. But the story between, what was it, Alibaba, was that his name? The one blonde main character, Alibaba, and his friend Kasim, I think was his childhood friend. The story between them, it reminds me a lot, for some reason or another, with Nibi and Oni, but I like the story between them. Chakra was a great character. I didn't really get a huge feel for Lycos. I mean, she didn't do too much past the first few episodes that was really strongly character driven. I still want to know more about Emma and Neri. What the heck were Emma and Neri? But yeah, lots of cool stuff. Oh, and the one little alien looking chick, what was she called? Olivines or whatever? Yeah, what was up with that? And was Olivines the daughter of Skelos, kind of like Neri and Emma are supposedly the daughters of Felena? It's weird and confusing, but the mystery was a huge positive part of the series. So yeah, it served as a great introduction as well. This entire season felt like an introduction to a larger story, and the world is so large and mysterious that it works really well. And it's a very, very interesting world. One negative I would have too is that the last episode or two were a little bit slow. They weren't bad by any means. In fact, I still thought they were both quite good. But they were a bit slow compared to some anime that were consistently great, or I don't know, compared to earlier episodes of this show. So either way, as a score though for the season as a whole, I'd give that a 9.5 too. Well, not a 9.5, comma 2, a 9.5 as well. So yeah, same score I gave to Hoseki no Kuni. I thought that both of them are very similar in the way that they're starting us off at a series. They both had really great characters that I came to love. Both had great art styles that I really loved. And I feel like in some of those aspects, I would put, like in the plot aspect, I would maybe put Hoseki no Kuni a little bit above this, but when it came to art style, I'd put this a little bit above that, though they're kind of close. Both are really good. And when it comes to world building, I guess they're both about the same too. I don't know. Most things are about the same. Production quality, I'd maybe put this higher. Just because very, very good 2D animation I'm always going to like more than 3D CG, even if the 3D CG was something I absolutely loved. So I'd put this on par, 9.5, same as Hoseki no Kuni, making it tied for my second favorite or second highest rated anime this season, with Shoujo Shumatsu Ryoko beating it out. For the longest time I thought that this was going to end up being my favorite and Shoujo Shumatsu Ryoko in second. But I think the last few episodes where it kind of slowed down and then Shoujo Shumatsu Ryoko kept being consistently great, I think that's what ended up kind of tipping the scales a little bit more in its favor. So yeah, that's it. 9.5 for the episode. That is what I give it, yeah. 9.5 for the episode, 9.5 for the season. Can't wait for season 2. And I guess I could read the manga and cover that if you want, but I could just wait. I think I'd rather just wait and be surprised for when season 2 comes around. I have a ton of other manga that people have told me to read, so I'd rather get to those first, I guess. So yeah, whenever season 2 comes around, I'll do reviews on that. I will be doing reviews on other shows though, so I'm gonna actually record my video right after recording this, where I'll be discussing all the anime from next season, 15 that I want to try and watch, 3 that I'm thinking about maybe watching, and I'll maybe pick 1 or 2 out of those to review once I've seen the first episodes of them. But if you comment down there and talk back and forth with me and everybody else, we can sort of decide more on what we would rather have me watch, or if you have any suggestions, or what you would, I guess, rather have me review and such. So you can help me decide there. So yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you for watching. I really enjoyed covering the series. Like, comment, subscribe, follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. If you want a link to our Discord server to talk with me and more of us there, then just ask. I'll give you a link to that. So that's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.